Hello, it's very good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che here to provide you with the latest. More details have been disclosed regarding President Park Geun-hye's trip to Africa and France as she prepares to embark on that journey Wednesday. During her visits to Ethiopia, Uganda, Kenya, and Paris, she will look to upgrade diplomatic and economic ties. Song Ji-sun starts us off.
Africa is seen as the last frontier in the world, boasting a robust growth rate of 5% in the 21st century and a population of 1 billion people. President Park's trip to Africa will take her to the capitals of Ethiopia, Uganda, and Kenya, and set the groundwork to tap into the great potential of the continent.
By visiting the 3 biggest economies in East Africa, Seoul will strengthen cooperative partnerships and facilitate mutual growth in the region.
While assisting Africa with customized development plans, Seoul will also launch a new official development assistance project called Korea Aid, a truck enabling mobile healthcare and introduction to Korean culture. President Park will also become the first South Korean leader to deliver a speech at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, allowing her to communicate Seoul's vision for the continent. Park will then head to Paris for a state visit marking 130 years of diplomatic relations with France. President Park and Hollande will release a joint statement aimed at upgrading their comprehensive partnership for the 21st century, with the creative economy also expected to be a key focus.
Korea and France are optimal partners to realize a creative economy and cultural prosperity. The 2 countries will finalize deals to jointly foster new growth engines for the future.
President Park's visit to Africa will complete her global diplomacy map covering the Americas, Europe, and the Middle East. During her travels, President Park will discuss North Korea's nuclear issues and ask for partner countries to implement sanctions on Pyongyang. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
In Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, South Korean Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn told reporters on Sunday the 2 nations plan to collaborate in new fields such as healthcare and housing, in addition to traditional sectors of cooperation like construction and energy. Earlier today, he met with King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud to discuss ways to build a future-oriented relationship. They agreed to ink 5 preliminary deals, including MOUs on transportation and energy cooperation. The Prime Minister added the major oil exporter's push to transform itself into a knowledge-based society will open new business opportunities for IT powerhouse South Korea. Before returning home on Tuesday, Hwang will travel to Turkey to attend the World Humanitarian Summit. There he also plans to meet UN Chief Ban Ki-moon to discuss both domestic and international issues. Among the pending bills scheduled to be scrapped from the 19th Parliament in South Korea are a set of labor reform bills. Korea's labor minister, however, says he will work to push for re-legislation of the bills for the sake of the country's labor conditions. Shin Se-min tells us more.
Korea's labor minister Lee Ki-kwon says he will push for legislation of a package of labor reform bills in the upcoming 20th National Assembly, calling it a regrettable reality that many young Koreans are unable to find jobs. The minister said the political circles should share the burden of responsibility.
Reintroduction of the labor reform bills in Parliament will be a priority once the 20th National Assembly opens.
The set of labor reform bills include labor standards, employment insurance benefits, compensation for industrial mishaps, and contract terms for non-regular workers. The labor minister cited that the youth unemployment figure rose 100,000 in just 6 months after the labor reform agreements made by the tripartite committee in September last year, and said that unless there is a push for reform, that number will rise even more, pushing the nation's sons and daughters into a corner. In regards to the ongoing corporate restructuring of the country's shipbuilding and shipping industries, the minister said that government should shoulder responsibility and support laid-off workers by helping them gain re-employment to secure their livelihoods. He stressed the need to push for legislation of labor reform bills as they include support measures for corporate restructuring, which could provide the greatest benefit for employees from the shakeup. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
The South Korean government plans to offer a package of support measures to compensate local firms affected by the shutdown of the Kaesong industrial complex. A government official revealed that an announcement could be made as early as this week and are expected to cover losses for liquid assets such as finished products and raw materials worth up to $80 million. The firms, however, maintain that the losses are closer to $200 million and that total losses from the shutdown amount to almost $700 million. Seoul closed the inter-Korean joint factory on February 10th after North Korea carried out a nuclear test and long-range rocket launch earlier in the year. Come Thursday, the G7 leaders will tone up their criticism of North Korea. According to Japan's Nihon Keizai Shimbun on Sunday, the G7 Ise-shima summit will release a joint statement condemning Pyongyang in the strongest terms over its nuke test and missile launches. The Japanese daily adds it's a warning that goes up a notch from the previous G7 summit in Germany last year, when they adopted a joint statement that strongly condemned the North for its nuclear weapons developments and serious human rights violations and abductions. The upcoming event will be held on the 26th and the 27th in Japan's Mie Prefecture. Afghan Taliban leader Mullah Akhtar Mansour has been killed in a U.S. drone strike in Pakistan on Saturday local time. The first official confirmation from the country came from the Afghan National Security Directorate. The Pentagon also confirmed on Saturday that an operation authorized by President Barack Obama successfully took out a Taliban leader and an armed male combatant. Secretary of State John Kerry said Mansour had posed an imminent threat to U.S. personnel. Mansour led the Taliban to briefly capturing the city of Kunduz last year, a first in 15 years. The leadership vacuum is expected to stir up a major power struggle among top-ranking officials in the immediate future. Korea's continued support for cultural contents is bearing fruit. The Culture Creation Convergence Belt is set to play a key role in ensuring that the nation's culture industry grows and evolves. Comprised of the Creative Center for Convergence Culture in charge of planning and development, the Culture Creation Venture Complex responsible for producing business as well as an academy tasked with nurturing new talent. In the process, the Center for Convergence has created some 130 new jobs. The venture complex will begin programs for overseas promotion and financial support of local content, while the Academy plans to join forces with IT startups in Korea to fuse art and science for their 2017 projects. And with the opening of K-Culture Valley, K-Experience, and K-Pop Arena, the entire belt is expected to create even more jobs and generate tremendous revenue. Banks have begun reviewing a new set of measures submitted by Korea's top 3 shipbuilders, disposing of assets, cutting wages, and laying off workers. These are some of the likely scenarios. Our Kwon Jang-ho looks into the changes that will have a massive impact on the ailing industry.
The big 3 shipbuilders, Hyundai Heavy Industries, Daewoo Shipbuilding and Marine Engineering, and Samsung Heavy Industries have laid out the second stage of restructuring plans to their creditors that is worth some $5 billion. The plans consist of a combination of company restructuring, selling of assets, and reduction of wages. For example, Daewoo is looking to sell off its defense industry arm, which produces military ships and submarines. They're also planning to sell their office building in downtown Seoul, already appraised at an estimated value of $150 million. Daewoo and Samsung are also looking to sell their floating docks. But sales could be difficult with the current global shipbuilding industry in recession and demand low. Hyundai has seen some 8,000 people leave the company through regular and voluntary resignations since 2015, but they're encouraging more to opt for early retirement packages in order to make further cuts to the wage bill. Daewoo and Samsung are also looking to reduce staff by about 1,000 each this year. There are concerns that the loss of assets and manpower would mean relinquishing their positions among some of the biggest shipbuilders in the world, and also hurt the companies in the long run, especially if the worldwide shipping industry recovers. But for now, the drastic changes are deemed necessary to stem the huge annual losses they are currently facing. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Korean traditional lacquer, known as uchil, was used not only to preserve crafts and buildings, it also possesses strength that can make it a nice finish for military armors. Kim Ho-kyun explains how such durability may make the product popular around the world someday soon.
Uchil, as the traditional lacquer is known in Korean, was a common household item used during the Iron Age more than 2,000 years ago. Since then, Korean lacquer has been widely acknowledged for its high quality. It was used to cover objects made of wood, paper, bamboo, and even metal. After these objects were coated with lacquer, the finished product was long-lasting, water-resistant, and lustrous.
I think lacquer applied on the remains was the biggest contributor to the good quality.
Lacquer was not only used for daily supplies, but also in crafts and wooden buildings. Due to its firmness and durability, it was also used to coat armor and military supplies. An experiment to measure flame retardancy showed that a wood coated with chemical paint took 5.9 seconds to catch fire, while wood coated with diluted lacquer and traditional lacquer took 27.6 seconds and 30.4 seconds respectively. The use of lacquer has been emerging in various sectors ranging from automobiles, submarines, and electronic devices. It is highly anticipated that the outstanding traits of Korean traditional lacquer will soon be welcomed in the global market as well. Kim Ho-kyun, Arirang News.
And now for a quick look at the weather before we go. Heat wave advisories have finally been lifted in Korea after glowing in red for days. Still a hot and humid week awaits with nationwide showers forecast on Tuesday. Temperature-wise, Seoul, Gwangju, and Busan starts at 17 degrees Celsius. Later in the day, the mercury will rise all the way to 29 in the capital, 28 in Gwangju, and 26 in the port city. And now let's check out the weather conditions in your neck of the woods and around the world. That's all from us. Here's wishing you a smooth transition to a new work week. Thank you for watching.